The soil and the sigh, foundations of peasant endurance. Imagine, if you will, a landscape painted in muted greens and browns, stitched together by winding tracks and clustered wattle and daub cottages. This is the 14th century, the world of the medieval peasant, not kings and castles, but the countless, nameless souls bound to the soil. Their existence, far from the chivalric romances, was a relentless negotiation with scarcity, authority, and invisible terrors. Survival wasn't an adventure, it was a daily, wearying calculus performed under an often unkind sky. The bedrock of this life was the manor, a self-contained, yet deeply unequal, universe. The peasant, whether a villain tied irrevocably to the lord's land or a slightly freer Qatar, existed within a web of obligations as tangible as the earth itself. The lord wasn't merely a distant figure, he was the architect of their burdens. His demands were manifold: labor services, days spent toiling the lord's own domain fields instead of their own meager strips, rents paid in precious grain, eggs, or chickens wrested from their own sustenance, and a bewildering array of fines and fees: to marry, to inherit a father's plot, even to grind corn at the lord's mill. This relentless extraction was the constant hum beneath their lives, a drain on energy and resources that left little margin for error. Survival meant meticulously meeting these dues while somehow retaining enough to feed their own families from their allocated strips in the open fields, a patchwork quilt of agriculture governed by ancient communal routines. Then came the famine, a specter haunting every harvest. Medieval agriculture was perilously fragile. A sequence of cold, wet summers could blight grain. A late frost could decimate seedlings. Drought could parch the fields. The Great Famine of 1315 to 1317 was catastrophic, but localized crop failures were a recurring nightmare. When the harvest failed, the consequences were immediate and brutal. Grain stores dwindled alarmingly. Prices soared beyond the reach of the peasant purse. They turned to famine foods: coarse bread bulked with sawdust, bark or ground fern roots, scavenged nettles, roots, and berries from the dwindling woods. The tragic consumption of seed grain meant for next year's planting, mortgaging the future for another week of life. Starvation weakened bodies, making them vulnerable. Disease followed hunger like a shadow. The very young and the very old succumbed first. Survival here was a grim lottery, dependent on the resilience of one's stored food, the charity of neighbors, itself scarce, the ability to forage effectively, and a desperate hope for the next season's clemency. Yet, a more insidious, invisible enemy lurked: plague. The Black Death of 1347 to 1351 was the most horrific visitation, but pestilence was a frequent, terrifying guest. Fleas on black rats were the unseen vectors, but to the peasant, it was a miasma, a foul air, divine wrath, or the alignment of malignant stars. Its arrival was terrifyingly democratic, cutting down lord and peasant alike, but its impact on the tightly knit, malnourished peasant communities was often more devastating. Symptoms, the grotesque buboes, fever, vomiting, and rapid decline, appeared seemingly at random. There was no cure, only varying degrees of suffering and almost certain death within days. Isolation was the only defense, yet impractical in communal living. Villages were decimated, fields lay fallow for lack of workers, the social fabric frayed as families were obliterated, and the familiar rhythms of life dissolved into a nightmare of corpses and abandonment. Survival against the plague was largely a matter of brutal, random chance, avoiding the infected flea bite. Those who lived faced a shattered world, haunted by loss and the ever-present fear of its return. Yet, paradoxically, the sheer scale of death could, later, shift the balance of power slightly, creating labor shortages that gave survivors marginally more leverage, though that was cold comfort amidst the graves. How, then, did the peasantry endure this trinity of tribulations: the lord's exactions, the famine's gnawing hunger, the plague's indiscriminate scythe? Their resilience was woven from coarse, practical threads. Community was paramount. Neighbors helped neighbors bring in a sick family's harvest, shared scant resources in famine, where possible, and upheld the intricate customs governing shared fields and pastures. The church offered not just spiritual solace but practical aid: alms for the destitute, the preservation of knowledge, often practical agricultural lore, within monasteries, and a framework of meaning that helped make sense of inexplicable suffering. Adaptability was key, diversifying crops where permitted, keeping small livestock, pigs, chickens, that could forage, utilizing every part of an animal or plant, and possessing a deep, generations-old knowledge of local plants for food, medicine, and rudimentary pest control. Passive resistance was another tool, working the lord's fields with deliberate slowness, hiding grain from his assessors, grazing animals illicitly on his forbidden lands, small acts of defiance preserving precious calories and autonomy. Above all, there was stoicism, acceptance of hardship as the natural order, a profound connection to the cyclical rhythms of the land and seasons, and a quiet, dogged persistence. They endured because the alternative was extinction. They survived because life, however meager and burdened, clung tenaciously to the soil they worked, generation after weary generation, sigh by silent sigh. Their history is written not in chronicles of battles, but in the stubborn persistence of furrows plowed against the odds, season after unforgiving season. It is a testament etched in endurance, a quiet monument built not of stone, but of survival itself. Chapter 2: The Quiet Craft, Ingenuity in the Shadow of Scarcity. Building on the grim foundations of lordly demands, capricious harvests, and the terror of pestilence, the medieval peasant's survival wasn't merely passive endurance. It was a quiet, constant, often ingenious craft, a deep well of practical knowledge and subtle adaptation honed over generations. While chronicles focused on courts and crusades, the real revolution unfolded in the furrow and the forest edge, driven by bone-tired hands and minds attuned to every whisper of the natural world. 1. The alchemy of scarcity, food beyond the grain bin. The peasant diet, often reduced to bread and pottage, was a masterclass in maximizing minimal resources. Pottage itself was the canvas, a thick, ever-simmering broth in the hearth cauldron. Into it went not just precious grains, barley, oats, rye, wheat was often a luxury paid as rent, but every conceivable scrap, foraged greens, sorrel, dandelion, nettles rich in vitamins, beans and peas for protein, roots like turnips and parsnips, and crucially, fats and proteins scraped together. A scrap of bacon rind, dried beans, marrow from bones boiled relentlessly, tiny dried fish, sprats, herring, or gleanings from the woods, mushrooms, nuts, berries, all thicken the pot. Preservation was vital. Smoking, salting, though salt was expensive, drying and pickling in vinegar or whey transformed fleeting abundance into winter security. Even bread wasn't simple. It was often coarse, dark loaves bulked with bran, beans, or even acorns during lean times. Every part of an animal was used: offal, blood, for black puddings, skin, bones for broth and glue. This wasn't cuisine, it was edible alchemy, turning weeds, scraps, and necessity into sustenance. 2. The forest, larder, pharmacy, and sanctuary. The manor woods, though heavily regulated by the lord, poaching was a grave offense, were an indispensable resource. Beyond firewood and timber, it was a vital supplementary larder. Pigs, the peasants' most valuable livestock, were driven into the forest in autumn to fatten on acorns and beech mast, pannage. Wild berries, nuts, fungi, and edible roots were gathered meticulously. Crucially, the forest was the peasant apothecary. Generations of whispered herb lore identified plants for healing: comfort for bones, nipbone; yarrow to staunch bleeding; chamomile for digestion; willow bark, a natural source of salicin, like aspirin, for pain and fever. Poultices, infusions, and ointments were prepared based on this deep, practical knowledge, often passed down by women. While no match for plague, this herbal medicine offered relief from everyday ailments, wounds, and the chronic pains of relentless labor. The woods also offered materials: reeds for thatch, rushes for floor coverings and candle wicks, withies for basket weaving, fungi for tinder. It was a space partially beyond the lord's immediate gaze, a vital margin for survival. 3. The unwritten ledger, community and custom. Formal law belonged to the lord and the king. But peasant life was governed by an equally powerful, unwritten web of customs and communal agreements. The open field system itself required intricate cooperation, agreeing on planting and harvest dates, managing the common grazing on the stubble after harvest, maintaining shared paths and ditches. Mutual aid was embedded. Neighbors helped rebuild a burned cottage, barn raising in spirit, lent tools or a precious draft animal, shared food with the sick or bereaved. Folk wisdom, often dismissed as superstition, often encoded practical observation, weather signs, planting times based on moon phases or saints' days, which often aligned roughly with ecological cues, ways to preserve seed viability. This communal knowledge and support network was the social glue, the safety net woven from countless small reciprocities. It ensured tasks essential for all, harvest, defense against wolves or outlaws, got done, even when individual families were weakened. For the resilience of the humble, small livestock and the home plot. While the lord demanded labor for his vast domain fields, the peasant's true focus was the toft and croft, the small plot around their cottage. Here, they exercised more direct control. Small livestock were key to resilience. Chickens provided eggs, a vital protein source, and occasional meat. A goat or cow, if incredibly fortunate, gave milk, cheese, and eventually meat. Pigs, as mentioned, converted forest forage into valuable fat and protein. Even bees, kept in skeps, offered precious honey, the main sweetener, and wax for candles. The cottage garden was intensively cultivated: onions, leeks, cabbages, herbs for cooking and medicine, perhaps fruit trees. Dung from animals fertilized this plot. This microeconomy provided crucial dietary diversity, tradable surplus, eggs, chickens, cheese at the local market, and a buffer against grain failure. It was a pocket of relative autonomy amidst feudal obligation. 5. The quiet defiance, knowledge as power. Ultimately, the peasant's greatest weapon was knowledge, hard-won, practical, and fiercely guarded. Knowing which wild plants wouldn't kill you, how to coax a crop from poor soil, how to treat a wound or birth a child, how to preserve food without modern technology, how to navigate the complex rules of manor and community, this was their inheritance and their armor. It was knowledge often held in low esteem by the literate elite, yet it was the bedrock upon which the entire medieval world, with all its castles and cathedrals, ultimately rested. This deep, local, embodied understanding of their environment and their place within its constraints allowed them to persist, adapt, and carve out spaces of agency, however small, within a harsh and demanding world. Their survival wasn't heroic. It was a quiet, persistent craft, stone by humble stone, against the relentless tide of adversity. Chapter 3. The Sigh and the Spark. Endurance woven into the fabric of days. The weight of the medieval peasant's world was immense. The lord's heavy hand, the sky's unpredictable temper, the invisible, creeping terror of pestilence. Survival wasn't just about gruel and herbs. It was etched into the very rhythm of their existence, a slow dance between bone-deep weariness and flickers of stubborn life. Imagine the scene not as a grand tapestry, but as countless, worn threads. Each day a small victory rested from the grinding wheel of necessity. The rhythm of the sigh. Each dawn arrived not with fanfare, but with the familiar ache in the back, the hollow reminder in the belly. Stepping out into the pre-dawn chill, the peasants surveyed strips of land, not their land, but the lord's, worked under the watchful eye of the bailiff. The sigh was a constant companion. The sigh hauling stones for the lord's new wall instead of mending their own leaking roof. The sigh handing over the plumpest hen as rent, watching a week's potential eggs walk away. The sigh seeing storm clouds gather over the barely ripened wheat, knowing famine whispered on the wind. It was the sound of burdens accepted, of effort measured against vanishing margins. Life was lived in the shadow of the next demand, the next threat, a relentless pressure that bowed shoulders and lined faces long before their time. The glimmer in the gloom, small defiances and quiet joys. Yet, within this landscape of sigh, sparks persistently glimmered. Survival demanded not just labor, but cunning and small rebellions. Picture old Edric, hunched over his meager strip at twilight, accidentally scattering a few precious seeds just over the boundary onto the unused headland, a tiny, illicit gamble for extra grain. See Alice carefully tucking a sliver of smoked eel deep into the thatch, hidden from the Lord's harvest tally, a secret protein reserve for a sick child. Hear the deliberate slowness with which they turned the Lord's hay on a hot afternoon, conserving energy under the guise of thoroughness. These weren't acts of revolution, but of preservation, stealing back moments, calories, slivers of control. They were the silent language of the oppressed, a testament to the mind's refusal to be wholly conquered. And there were moments, fragile but vital, where life asserted itself beyond mere survival. The warm fog of the cottage on a freezing night, the single tallow dip casting long shadows, the rhythmic scrape of a spoon in the communal pottage pot. The rough laughter shared over a jug of weak ale after the harvest was finally, miraculously, in a fleeting camaraderie born of shared exhaustion and relief. The lullaby a mother crooned, her voice hoarse from work, yet soft with a love that transcended hunger. The simple wonder of the first violets peeking through the winter-brown earth, a promise the relentless cycle hadn't broken yet. These weren't grand celebrations, but the quiet hum of humanity persisting. The ties that bind, community as lifeline. When plague stalked the village, turning neighbor against neighbor in blind terror, it was the aftermath that truly tested the fabric. Imagine Gawain, returning from hiding in the woods to find his cottage empty, his family gone. It wasn't the Lord who helped him dig the graves. It was Martha from the next croft, herself widowed, sharing her dwindling oatcake and silent company. When a cottage burned, a common horror, the unspoken rule activated. Neighbors appeared, not with grand speeches, but with hands ready to cut wattles, gather daub, share precious straw for rethatching. It was heavy, silent work, punctuated only by practical instructions. This communal labor wasn't charity, it was an investment in shared survival. They knew next time, the fire might be theirs. This network of mutual obligation, woven through shared hardship and enforced proximity, was the strongest wall against despair. Faith and folk, meaning in the mire. The church offered the grand narrative, God's plan, the hope of salvation beyond this veil of tears. Peasants attended mass, mumbled prayers, sought the priest for last rites. But intertwined was a deeper, earthier folk belief. They saw spirits in the ancient oak, heard warnings in the owl's cry, left offerings at the village well for luck. Saints' days punctuated the year, not just as holy obligations, but as markers, time to plant, time to harvest, time to rest, briefly. The village wise woman, often the keeper of the herb lore, might also be consulted to ward off the evil eye or find a lost cow. This blend of official doctrine and ancient superstition provided a framework. It offered explanations for inexplicable suffering, divine punishment, ill-wishing, and, crucially, rituals of control. Lighting a candle, whispering a charm, observing an old custom, these were small actions that combated the terrifying randomness of plague and famine, offering a sliver of psychological armor against the abyss. The unyielding quiet. The medieval peasant's story isn't one of triumphant overcoming. It's a story of endurance as its own quiet victory. They faced lords who saw them as tools, skies that betrayed them, diseases that ravaged them without reason. They sighed, deeply and often. But they also sowed seeds in hidden corners, shared crusts in desperate times, rebuilt homes in ashes, and sang lullabies in the dark. Their resilience wasn't forged in dramatic stands, but in the million mundane acts of getting up, tending the fire, feeding the pig, weeding the strip, mourning the lost, and beginning again. It was the resilience of moss on stone, persistent, unassuming, and ultimately, unyielding. They survived because they wove their defiance and their hope into the very fabric of their unremarkable days, thread by weary thread, sigh by sigh, spark by fragile spark, ensuring life, against all odds, simply continued. And in that continuation, whispered beneath the Chronicles of Kings, lies a monument far more profound. Chapter 4. The Tremor and the Tide, Echoes of Survival in a Shifting World. The relentless grind, the sigh, the quiet spark, these defined the peasant's existence. But the Great Tribulations, especially the yawning chasm of the Black Death, didn't just leave scars, they sent tremors through the very bedrock of the medieval world. Survival wasn't static. It became a catalyst, subtly shifting the ground beneath the feet of lords and peasants alike. Imagine the aftermath. Fields choked with weeds where families once toiled, cottages standing silent and cold. The scale of loss was incomprehensible. Yet, from this desolation, a fragile, unexpected power began to stir in the calloused hands of those who remained. The great emptiness and the unspoken lever. Picture Agnes, her face still etched with the grief of burying her husband and 3 children. She stands not just in her own meager strip, but gazes across acres of the Lord's best domain, land lying utterly fallow. There simply aren't enough hands. The old balance, where the Lord held life and land in his fist, was shattered. Labor, once cheap and abundant, became suddenly, terrifyingly scarce. For survivors like Agnes, this emptiness wasn't just loss. It was a terrible, unlooked-for bargaining chip. When the Lord's bailiff came demanding the full 3 days of labor service per week, Agnes, her voice perhaps trembling but firm, could finally say, "And who will work my strips, Master Bailiff? Who will feed my one remaining child? I can give you 1 day, or you get no days, and your wheat rots where it stands." It was a quiet revolution. Lords, desperate to get their lands productive and income flowing, were forced to listen. Labor services were commuted, paid for in cash or kind instead of backbreaking days. Rents were frozen or even reduced. Ancient, oppressive villanage bonds began to loosen as peasants negotiated for greater freedom in exchange for staying on the land. The sheer, brutal mathematics of survival had tilted ever so slightly in their favor. The seeds of change, mobility, and money. The great dying also prized open the rigid boundaries of the manor. With villages decimated, opportunities beckoned elsewhere. A young man, Will, son of a vanished villain, could now look beyond the horizon. Perhaps a nearby lord, even more desperate, offered better terms, higher wages, a larger cottage garden, even freedom from the most onerous dues. Peasants began to move, cautiously at first, then with growing confidence. This nascent mobility fostered another crucial shift, the rise of a cash economy. With labor paid in wages and rents increasingly in coin, peasants gained a new fluidity. They could sell surplus eggs, cheese, or crafts at local markets, accumulating small, precious hoards of pennies. This coin bought not just necessities, but small luxuries. A better knife, a pot that wasn't cracked, a length of sturdier cloth. It offered a sliver of independence, a buffer against the Lord's absolute control over their material existence. Money, once a rarity, became a tool of quiet empowerment. The flicker of assertion, from sigh to murmur. This newfound, fragile leverage didn't spark open revolt overnight, but it fueled a slow burn of assertion. The deference demanded by lords now met with eyes that held less fear and more calculation. The old, unquestioned customs governing fines and fees began to be challenged. Peasants, sometimes pooling their meager resources, might send representatives to petition the Lord, citing ancient charters, real or imagined, or simply the new reality of empty fields. They became bolder in defending their common rights, access to woods for pannage, grazing on the stubble, collecting firewood against encroachment by lords seeking to enclose land for more profitable sheep farming. The sigh of resignation began, in places, to be punctuated by a low, determined murmur of negotiation. They learned the power of collective withholding, of simply refusing en masse to accept the old, impossible burdens. It was a risk, yes, but survival had taught them the cost of not pushing back. The shadow persists, resilience tempered, not broken. Yet, the lords were not idle. They pushed back with new laws. The Statute of Laborers in England, 1351, tried to freeze wages at pre-plague levels and restrict movement. They employed harsher bailiffs, levied new fines where they could. Famine still stalked the land. Bad harvests in the late 14th century brought renewed suffering. Plague returned in waves, less apocalyptic but still terrifying. The peasants' world remained harsh, uncertain, and fundamentally unequal. The gains were fragile, unevenly distributed, and constantly under threat. Resilience wasn't replaced by ease, it was merely tempered by a new, hard-won awareness of their own value in the scarred landscape. They endured as before, but now with a keener eye for opportunity amidst the adversity, a slightly straighter back when facing the bailiff, and the knowledge that their labor, their very presence, held a price the Lord could no longer afford to ignore. The unseen monument. The story of the medieval peasant isn't one of triumphant revolution. It's the story of a profound tremor, the seismic shock of mass death, creating a slow, relentless tide of change. It's the story of survivors like Agnes and Will, leveraging their terrible inheritance not for glory, but for slightly less backbreaking days, a few more coins in a leather pouch, the precious chance to move or negotiate. Their endurance reshaped the feudal contract, sowed the seeds of a more mobile, monetary society, and planted the first, hesitant notions that the wielder of the plow might also have a voice worth hearing. Their monument isn't carved in stone on a battlefield. It's etched in the quiet, stubborn evolution of freedom and dignity, purchased acre by hard-won acre, penny by precious penny, in the long, shadowed aftermath of survival. The tide, once turned by catastrophe, would continue to rise, slowly, imperceptibly, carrying the whispers of those who sighed, sparked, and survived into a future they could only dimly imagine. Chapter 5. The Whisper and the Weight. Inheritance of the Furrowed Brow. The medieval peasant's world didn't end with a fanfare, nor with a single, triumphant uprising. It faded slowly, like mist burning off a field at dawn, its contours shifting under pressures both internal and immense. The plagues recurred, less cataclysmic but ever-present. Lords adapted, finding new ways to profit, enclosing common lands for sheep, their greed now often clad in legal parchment rather than raw feudal might. Famine's shadow still lengthened in bad years. Yet, the legacy of that grinding endurance, forged in the crucible of the 14th century, was not erased. It became a whisper passed down, a weight carried in the very posture of those who came after, an inheritance etched less in land deeds and more in the lines around weary eyes and the calluses on work-swollen hands. The unbroken thread, knowledge embodied. Imagine Enot, granddaughter of a woman who survived the Great Pestilence. She doesn't remember the worst horrors, but the knowledge lives in her fingers. She knows, without being told, which wild greens pack the most sustenance in a lean spring, learned at her mother's knee as they foraged the hedgerows. She possesses the herb lore, the precise way to bruise comfrey leaves for a poultice, the bitter taste of willow bark tea that eases her husband's ague after days knee-deep in the Lord's drained fish pond. She understands the rhythms of the soil, when to turn the fallow, how deeply to sow the winter rye, read in the flight of birds and the feel of the wind, knowledge accumulated over generations of trial and brutal error. This practical wisdom wasn't written in books. It was breathed in with the smell of turned earth, sung in work chants, demonstrated in the silent efficiency of her hands repairing a wattle fence. It was the embodied inheritance of survival, a toolkit constantly refined, ensuring the next generation, too, would know how to coax life from reluctant earth and navigate the ever-present edge of want. The endurance ethic, sigh as ballad, the stoicism cultivated over centuries didn't vanish. It deepened, becoming less a temporary shield and more a second skin. The sigh of the 15th century peasant wasn't just resignation, it was a complex ballad. It held the memory of ancestors who starved, the echoes of plague bells, the weariness of dues paid to a distant abbot who now demanded cash instead of labor days, but cash that was just as hard to scrape together. Yet, within that sigh resided a hardened resilience. They expected little mercy from the heavens or the manor house. Hardship wasn't an anomaly, it was the weather of their existence. This wasn't joylessness, but a profound acceptance that allowed them to find slivers of contentment, the warmth of the hearth after a freezing day, the taste of the first apple from a gnarled tree they tended since childhood, the boisterous energy of children surviving another winter. Their endurance became a quiet creed. Life was hard, yes, but it was theirs to live, season by demanding season. The frayed leash and the echo of leverage. The subtle shifts born of the plague's devastation didn't reverse. The memory of scarcity's power lingered. Peasants might still be tied to the land, but the leash was longer, frayed. The ability to move, to seek slightly better terms on a neighboring manor or even drift towards growing towns offering wage labor remained a potent, if risky, card. The cash nexus established after the plague became entrenched. Selling surplus at market, haggling over the price of a piglet, accumulating small coins, these weren't just economic acts, they were acts of nascent agency. They understood their labor had a market value, a concept unimaginable to their ancestors bound solely by service. While lords might still try to impose old ways through statutes or enclosures, the response wasn't just passive sighing. There were rumblings, petitions, occasional refusals. The lessons learned in the shadow of mass death, the power of collective need, the value of the surviving worker, became part of their social DNA, passed down like the shape of a scythe handle perfected for their local soil. The unseen monument. The medieval peasant didn't march into modernity. They faded into it, their specific world dissolving into the enclosures, the early stirrings of industry, the slow death of pure feudalism. But their monument isn't gone. It's in the enduring landscape, the ridge and furrow patterns still ghosting fields, the ancient footpaths worn deep by generations of trudging feet. It's in the folk traditions, the stories told by winter fires, the herbal remedies still whispered about, the stubborn local customs that defied homogenization. It's in the very concept of resilience, the quiet understanding that hardship can be endured, that community is a lifeline, that knowledge of the natural world is paramount. Most profoundly, it's in the whisper of their leverage. The long, slow struggle to slightly loosen the Lord's grip, to turn labor into something with negotiable value, to claim fragments of autonomy even within crushing constraint, laid groundwork. It was a foundation, however rough-hewn, upon which later, louder struggles for rights and representation would be built. Their survival wasn't just about enduring plague, famine, and lords. It was about subtly, stubbornly reshaping the very meaning of that endurance, transforming silent suffering into a legacy that carried weight. They bore the world on their backs, generation after generation, not as Atlas condemned, but as countless, nameless bearers who, sigh by sigh, act of quiet defiance by quiet act, ensured that the future, however uncertain, would still hear their faint, persistent whisper in the rustle of the harvest and the rhythm of survival that continues, even now, in the blood and bone of the land. The weight remains, but so does the whisper. We endured. We persist. Chapter 6. The Enduring Furrow, Echoes in the Soil and the Soul. The chronicles of kings fall silent, the parchment cracks. Castles crumble into picturesque ruins. But the legacy of the medieval peasant, etched not in stone but in the very rhythm of survival, persists. It's a whisper carried not on the wind, but in the deep, quiet currents of human resilience, a testament written in the stubborn persistence of life against unimaginable weight. Their story doesn't conclude, it simply blends into the long sigh of history, leaving behind an inheritance far more profound than the sum of their burdens. The unseen architecture. Think of the world they inhabited, a world seemingly defined by lords, wars, and cathedrals. Yet, beneath the visible superstructure lay the invisible architecture built by calloused hands. Every stone in the Lord's manor, every thread in the bishop's robe, every morsel on the knight's table, was ultimately wrested from the soil by the peasant's relentless toil. They were the human bedrock upon which the entire, glittering, brutal edifice of the medieval world rested. Their endurance wasn't passive, it was the active, unceasing engine that powered an era. Without their size, their quiet alchemy with the land, their dogged persistence through plague and famine, the age of chivalry, of scholasticism, of Gothic splendor, would have simply ceased. Their survival was the foundation of civilization itself, however unequally its fruits were distributed. Resilience as inheritance. The how of their survival, the practical wisdom, the communal bonds, the deep ecological knowledge, the quiet defiance, became an indelible part of the human story. It flowed down the generations, not through noble bloodlines, but through the shared memory of hardship overcome. The ability to make nourishment from scarcity, to find medicine in the hedgerow, to rely on neighbors when institutions fail, to endure the unendurable with a stoic grace, these weren't just medieval peasant traits. They became universal strands in the tapestry of human resilience. When famine struck again in later centuries, when plagues returned, when communities faced oppression, the echo of the medieval peasants' stubborn persistence resonated. It whispered, "This has been faced before. We found ways. We endured." The weight and the whisper in the modern soul. Though the specific feudal chains rusted and broke, the psychological weight they forged remains, a subtle sediment in the modern consciousness. That ingrained wariness of authority, that deep-seated understanding of life's precariousness, that instinctive hoarding against future lack, that profound connection to the rhythms of the natural world, these are echoes of the peasant's long vigil. The modern sigh over bills, the anxiety about job security, the communal pulling together in disaster, even the simple comfort of a shared meal, they resonate with the ancient frequency of survival honed over centuries of scarcity and uncertainty. We carry in our bones a faint memory of the furrowed brow, the earth-stained hand, the gaze forever scanning the horizon for the next storm. The monument unseen, yet everywhere. They built no pyramids. They commissioned no illuminated manuscripts bearing their names. Their monument is diffuse, enduring, and profound. It is the shape of the land itself, the ancient field patterns fossilized under modern farms, the rights of way trodden by countless feet now paved as country lanes. It's in the folk memory, the harvest festivals, the tales of cunning peasants outwitting lords, a wish fulfillment echoing their quiet defiance, the old wives' remedies still whispered in kitchens. It's in the sturdy simplicity of vernacular architecture, born from necessity and local materials, that still dots the countryside. Most significantly, their monument is the unshakable proof of endurance. It stands as a quiet rebuttal to despair. Against the Lord's power, they wielded persistence. Against famine's void, they practiced ingenious alchemy. Against plague's randomness, they clung to community and custom. They faced a world stacked overwhelmingly against them, a world offering little hope and less mercy, and they persisted. Not as heroes in a song, but as countless individuals, nameless in the grand chronicles, who rose each dawn, sighed, worked, loved in the cracks, grieved, and began again. The final furrow. So, as the fire burns low and the night deepens, picture not just the hardship, but the profound, quiet triumph woven into the fabric of their existence. The medieval peasants survived. They bent, but they did not break. They sighed, but they did not cease. They passed on not just life, but the hard-won knowledge of how to live, how to endure. Their legacy is the enduring furrow, a line drawn in the earth season after season, a testament to the stubborn, unyielding spark of life that flickers, against all odds, in the deepest darkness. They remind us, across the centuries, in a voice as soft as falling ash yet as strong as ancient oak, endurance itself is a victory. The field is worked. The seed is sown. The story, against the relentless tide of time and trial, continues. Sleep now to the rhythm of that ancient, unbroken sigh. Chapter 7. Rest now upon the fallow, the legacy of sighs and seeds. The fire is embers now. The wind sighs outside, an ancient sound against the modern pain. We've traced the furrows of their existence, the weight of lords, the gnaw of famine, the terror of plague, the quiet alchemy of survival. Their world, defined by soil and sigh, seems impossibly distant, a sepia-toned dream of hardship. Yet, as we reach this final furrow, let us not simply close the book, but listen to the profound silence they left behind, a silence thick with unspoken triumph. The unmarked graves and the living soil. Picture the village churchyard. Countless graves, unmarked, sunken, known only to the earth itself. Here lies what, who survived the pestilence only to fall to a fever the next harsh winter. Here rests Sisley, worn thin by childbirth and ceaseless labor before 30 summers had passed. No grand epitaphs proclaim their deeds. Their monument is the land they sustained. The fields outside, perhaps still worked centuries later, carry the ghost of their toil in the very nutrients of the soil, enriched by generations of manure, sweat, and returned dust. The hedgerows they maintained, the paths they wore smooth, the subtle shaping of the landscape, This is their testament. They became the earth they worked, their endurance literally woven into the fabric of the world we walk upon. Their survival ensured the land itself lived on. The echo in the empty hearth. Step into a reconstructed peasant cottage. Feel the low ceiling, the packed earth floor, the cold draft from the poorly sealed door. Imagine the single hearth, the dim light. It feels sparse, harsh. Yet, within this seeming emptiness, feel the echo of resilience. The hearth that defied the freezing dark. The single pot that held sustenance conjured from weeds and scraps. The rough-hewn bench that bore the weight of exhaustion and fleeting rest. This space wasn't just shelter, it was a fortress of the everyday, a citadel built against despair. Within these humble walls, lullabies were sung, stories whispered, tiny moments of warmth shared against the vast indifference of their world. Their survival wasn't measured in possessions, but in the persistent flicker of life itself within these walls, season after unforgiving season. The whisper in the blood. While castles crumble and parchments fade, the peasant's legacy flows in a subtler current, us. Their endurance shaped the human spirit in profound, often unacknowledged ways. That deep-seated pragmatism, fixing what's broken, using every scrap, echoes in our grandparents' habits. The instinct for community, helping neighbors in crisis, sharing burdens, resonates in our best impulses. The stubborn connection to natural rhythms, the understanding that life is cyclical and often harsh, lingers beneath our modern anxieties. Even our sighs, the weariness at relentless demands, the quiet acceptance of life's inequities, carry the faint, ancient resonance of their burdens. We are the inheritors, not of their titles or lands, but of their hard-won, bone-deep knowledge that life, however difficult, persists. We carry the echo of their sigh, the ghost of their spark, in our very cells. The final, quiet victory. They asked for no monuments. They expected no glory. Their ambitions stretched no further than the next harvest, the health of their children, a brief respite from the bailiff's knock. Yet, their victory is undeniable. Against lords who saw them as chattel, against skies that withheld rain and sun, against invisible death that swept through like a scythe, they endured. They bent but did not shatter. They sighed but did not surrender. Their triumph lies not in conquest, but in continuation. They passed the torch of life, flickering but unextinguished, through the darkest of nights. Rest now. So, let the weight of their world settle gently upon you, not as a crushing burden, but as a testament. Feel the solid earth beneath you, earth they fed with their labor and their bones. Hear the wind sighing, a sound unchanged since it whispered through their thatch. Acknowledge the quiet strength within you, an inheritance forged in their resilience. Their story is not one of thrilling battles or dazzling courts. It is the profound, grounding story of the soil and the soul. It is the reminder that beneath the grand narratives of history, the true engine, the unwavering constant, is the quiet, ceaseless, miraculous act of survival. They endured plagues, famine, and lords. They ensured the dawn would come again and again. Rest now. Let the rhythm of their survival, the deep sigh, the scratch of the hoe, the simmer of the pot, the beat of a weary heart pushing on, lull you. Rest, knowing that the field they tended, against all odds, still bears fruit. Their long watch is over. Sleep, cradled in the enduring furrow they plowed. Chapter 8, Into the Soft Darkness. A benediction of earth and rest. The final candle gutters. The embers in the hearth fade to a deep, velvet black. We have walked the stony paths, felt the weight of the Lord's demand, smelled the fear-laden air of pestilence, tasted the gritty despair of famine. We have witnessed the quiet alchemy of the pottage pot, the defiant spark in tired eyes, the unyielding strength of the communal sigh. The medieval peasant's world recedes now, not into oblivion, but into the soft embrace of the land they tended and the deep, restful darkness they earned. The long exhalation. Imagine the village settling into true night. No electric hum, only the profound silence broken by the rustle of a hedgehog, the distant cry of an owl, sounds unchanged for 1,000 years. Inside the low cottages, The air thickens with the scent of damp earth, wood smoke, and weary bodies. The day's labor, a relentless calculus of survival etched into aching muscles, finally releases its grip. This is the deep exhalation of existence itself. The sigh is no longer just resignation. It is the sound of tension dissolving, of the body surrendering to the essential, reparative void. In this darkness, the constant vigilance against cold, hunger, and authority momentarily ceases. The weight, though it will return with dawn, lifts. Sleep is not merely rest. It is a brief, precious truce with the relentless demands of the world. It is the soul's furrow lying fallow. The communion of shadows. In this shared darkness, feel the invisible threads tightening. Huddled on straw pallets, families breathe together in the close air. The infant's soft snuffle, the grandfather's rasp, the mother's steady rhythm. These are not just sounds, but affirmations. We are still here. We endure. Beyond the thin walls, the same rhythm echoes in neighboring crofts. The entire village, bound by shared burdens and whispered knowledge, sinks into the same collective unconsciousness. The darkness becomes a great leveler. Lord in his curtained bed, bailiff in his slightly warmer cottage, peasant in their earth-scented gloom, all are rendered equally vulnerable, equally subject to dreams, to the body's need for repair. In sleep, the harsh hierarchies blur. The only Lord is Morpheus, claiming all. The sanctuary unseen. This nightly descent was their sanctuary, more vital than any church. Here, the mind could wander paths unburdened by rent or rotting grain. Dreams might offer fleeting warmth, impossible plenty, the faces of those lost to plague, smiling again. Or perhaps, mercifully, it offered pure oblivion, a total absence of the gnawing belly, the fear of the bailiff's knock, the specter of the swelling bubo. Sleep was the time when the spirit, frayed by the sheer effort of persisting, could knit itself back together. It was the hidden wellspring from which the strength to face another impossible day would, somehow, seep back into their bones. Without this nightly retreat into the soft, forgiving dark, the will to rise at dawn, to lift the hoe again, to face the relentless cycle, would have surely shattered. The legacy of the fallow field. We, in our brightly lit, ever-buzzing world, have forgotten the sacredness of this surrender. We fight the darkness with screens, flood our nights with artificial suns, mistaking constant stimulation for life. But the peasant understood a profound truth. Rest is not idleness, it is renewal. It is the essential fallow period for the human spirit, as crucial as letting a field lie fallow to regain its strength. Their relentless endurance was made possible only by this nightly capitulation to the dark. They accepted the necessity of the void. They embraced the fallow time. Your turn to rest. So now, as you lie in your own modern darkness, feel the connection. The silence that wraps around you is the same silence that cradled them. The need for rest that pulls at your eyelids is the same ancient, biological imperative that claimed them. You are safe. The bailiff will not knock. The plague does not stalk your street. The granary, for you, is full. But the profound weariness of being human, the need to lay down the burdens, conscious and unconscious, remains. Let go. Feel the weight of your own existence settle. Imagine the cool, dark earth beneath an ancient cottage floor. Hear the ghostly rhythm of their communal breath, slow and steady. Sense the immense, patient presence of the land outside, resting too. They endured. They survived. Their long watch, their unimaginable burden, is done. Now it is your turn. Surrender to the soft darkness. Let the silence, older than lords, deeper than famine, vaster than plague, wash over you. Allow the profound peace of the fallow field to claim your spirit. There is nothing more to do. No furrow to plow tonight. No dues to count. Only rest. Deep, healing, sensual rest. You are held by the same earth. You breathe the same night. You inherit their hard-won peace. Let the darkness be your benediction. Chapter 9. Dissolving into the humus. The final return. The darkness is complete now. Not empty, but full. Full of the slow respiration of the earth itself, the patient sigh of millennia settling. We have journeyed deep into the furrows of their existence, felt the grit of their reality. Lords, plague, famine. These were the harsh contours of their world. But now, at the very end, let us follow them not into the glare of history's judgment, but into the soft, final dissolution, the ultimate act of belonging that was both their burden and their release. The body's last service. Picture Hugh, his back finally broken not by a single blow, but by 60 winters of hauling stone and bending to the unyielding soil. His breath rattles, a sound like dry peas in a pod, then ceases. There is no grand procession, no stone carved with his name. His body, light now as kindling, is washed by his daughter's trembling hands. Wrapped in a coarse shroud, perhaps the same blanket that barely held the winter cold at bay, he is carried not to a crypt, but to the churchyard's waiting earth. The hole is dug by neighbors, their spades biting into the same soil Hugh spent his life wresting sustenance from. He is laid down, not on a bier, but directly onto the cool, damp clay. Soil is shoveled back, covering him not as a monument, but as compost. His final, unspoken duty, to feed the very land that fed him. Bone becomes chalk, flesh becomes loam. The relentless labor finally becomes part of the field's slow, silent metabolism. His strength returns not to his children, but to the wheat that will sustain them. It is the ultimate circular act of survival. Dust nurturing dust. The unraveling name. Alice, who knew the secret places for the sweetest berries and the herb that eased a croupy cough, passes quietly one spring morning. For a season, perhaps two, her name is spoken. Old Alice's cottage, they might say. She knew where the early morels grew. But seasons turn. Her children scatter, to other manors, to fledgling towns. The cottage timbers sag, the thatch rots. Rain washes the daub back into the earth. Nettles claim the hearthstone. The specific memory of Alice, the curve of her smile, the particular timbre of her weary sigh, fades like frost under the sun. She dissolves into the collective murmur, the old ones, before the bad harvest, folk knew more then. Her individual struggle, her quiet sparks of defiance, her griefs and tiny joys, become indistinguishable threads in the vast, worn tapestry of the nameless many. Her monument is not a name on stone, but the persistence of the wild thyme she tended near her door, still blooming years after her fire went cold. The river merges with the sea. This dissolution wasn't oblivion. It was a return to source. The peasant lived bound to the land, governed by its seasons, nourished by its fruits, shaped by its storms. In death, they completed the cycle, merging utterly with that which defined them. Their sweat, their tears, the very calcium of their bones, seeped back into the groundwater, rose into the roots of the barley, became the fat on the pannage pig. They became the deep, slow pulse of the landscape itself. The Lord in his vaulted tomb might seek eternity in carved effigy, but the peasant achieved a different kind of permanence, ecological continuity. They became the blackbird's song at dawn over the field they once worked. They became the scent of rain on turned earth. They became the patient resilience of the oak sapling pushing through neglected pasture. Your own dissolution. As you drift now, feel this not as an end, but as a profound homecoming. The boundaries we cling to, name, memory, the conscious self, are fleeting. The peasant understood, in their bones, a deeper truth. We are not on the earth, we are of it. Our atoms are borrowed stardust, cycling through rock and root and rain since time began. Their final surrender was not defeat, but the ultimate act of integration. The weight of lordship, the terror of plague, the gnawing void of famine, these burdens were finally, blessedly, laid down. They returned to the great, silent hum from which all life springs and to which it inevitably flows. Sleep as dissolution. So let your own consciousness, like Alice's name, gently unravel. Let the specific worries of your day, the echoes of your lords, your plagues, your hungers, soften and blur. Feel yourself sinking not into nothingness, but into the warm, dark loam of pure being. You are Hugh returning to the field. You are Alice's thyme scenting the air. You are the cool moisture deep in the soil, the patient mycelium threading the dark, the silent potential of a seed waiting beneath the frost. There is no more to endure, no dues to pay, no dawn to dread, only the slow, sure turn of the great wheel. Surrender to the dissolution. Become the fertile dark. Become the resting field. Become the ancient, unhurried sigh of the earth itself, cradling all that was, all that is, and all that sleeps within it. Return. Dissolve. Chapter 10. The Unbroken Rhythm. A benediction of breath and earth. The final ember fades. The silence deepens, not as an absence, but as a presence, the soft, resonant hum of the resting earth itself. We have traced the long furrow from dawn's ache to the cool embrace of the grave, witnessed the alchemy of survival wrought from soil, sigh, and stubborn spark. The medieval peasants' specific struggle fades now, like mist dissolving into the morning air. Yet what remains is not emptiness, but the enduring rhythm they embodied, a pulse as fundamental as the turning seasons, now yours to inherit in this deep, healing dark. The echo in your breath. Feel your own breath, slow and steady in the stillness. This simple rhythm, the rise and fall of your chest, is their deepest legacy. It echoes the weary sighs of countless Watts and Alices after a day hauling stone or foraging frostbitten fields. It resonates with the shared breath in smoke-filled cottages, the collective exhalation of a village momentarily reprieved from plague's shadow. Your breath, safe and unlabored, is the fulfilled promise of their endurance. They fought, scraped, and persisted through unimaginable darkness so that this breath, this moment of peace, could exist in a descendant they could never fathom. You breathe the air they helped sustain, purified by the forests they preserved, enriched by the soil they tended. Each inhalation is a silent tribute. The land beneath you, dreaming. Sense the solidity beneath you, the mattress, the floor, the foundations. Descend deeper in your mind. Feel the patient land dreaming below. This earth remembers. It holds the ghost of ridge and furrow, the whisper of wooden plows scraping stone, the salt tang of sweat and tears absorbed into its depths. It cradles Hugh's bones turned to chalk, Alice's wisdom dissolved into loam. It is the great, silent recipient of their final offering. Resting upon it now, you are held by the accumulated resilience of 1,000 years. The Lord's demands are dust. The famine's gnaw is silent. The plague's terror is a distant echo. Only the land endures, dreaming its slow, fertile dreams, cradling you as it cradled them. It is the ultimate, unbroken cradle. The spark transformed. Their spark, that flicker of defiance in Gawain's tired eyes, the hidden eel in Alice's thatch, the deliberate slowness turning the Lord's hay, did not die. It transmuted. It became the quiet courage in your own challenges, the ingenuity in your solutions, the stubborn hope you cling to when modern plagues of doubt or despair press close. Their communal bond, the lifeline thrown by Martha across a chasm of grief, resonates in your connections, in the instinct to reach out, to help, to build something shared against the void. Their deep knowledge of the earth whispers in your yearning for green spaces, your respect for the tangible world, the quiet comfort found in a garden or a walk in the woods. Their spark lives on, not as flame, but as warmth in the human spirit. The final release. Let go now. Release the weight of their history, not as a burden, but as a completed story. Their dues are paid 1,000 times over. Their long watch beneath the uncaring stars is done. The relentless clang of the bailiff's bell is silenced forever. The terror of the swelling bubo is a phantom laid to rest. They have earned their profound, unbroken sleep within the soil they loved and labored. There is nothing more to endure, nothing more to fear. Their struggle is over. Your inheritance, peace, what they bequeath to you here in this safe darkness, is the profound gift of peace. The peace they glimpsed only fleetingly, in the shared warmth of the hearth, the fragile laughter after harvest, the deep, dreamless sleep stolen between fears. Your safety, your comfort, your freedom from their specific terrors, is the monument they never sought but truly built. It is the field they tended, finally yielding a harvest of tranquility. The rhythm continues. So sink deeper. Let your breath synchronize with the ancient sigh of the earth beneath you. Feel the slow, sure pulse of life that they maintained against all odds. The pulse in your veins, the pulse in the soil, the vast, slow pulse of the turning world. It is the unbroken rhythm passed hand to calloused hand, generation to generation, sigh to sigh, from their weary bones to your resting body. So, not as escape, but as celebration. A celebration of their endurance. A celebration of the peace they forged through unimaginable hardship. A celebration of the simple, profound miracle of breath, of safety, of rest. Close your eyes. You are the air. You are the promise kept. You are the deep, unbroken rhythm of life itself, cradled in the hard-won silence. Let the darkness hold you. Let the earth support you. Let the legacy of their resilience be your lullaby. Sit deeply, peacefully. Their long work is done. Yours is simply to rest. Chapter 11. The Silence After the Sigh. Your cradle of earned peace. The tapestry is woven. The final thread, hue dissolving into the welcoming humus, Alice's name softening into the collective murmur, is laid. The chronicle of their endurance, plagues faced, famine weathered, lords endured, settles into the deep archives of the earth. What remains in this profound quiet, this velvet darkness pressing gently upon you, is not the echo of their hardship, but the immense, tangible reality of the peace they purchased for this very moment. Your rest is not an afterthought. It is the culmination. Feel the absence. Reach out into the darkness. Feel the absence they carved out for you. The absence of the bailiffs pounding at dawn. The absence of the icy claw of true starvation gripping your gut. The absence of the terrifying swell of a bubo beneath your arm, signifying a death sentence written in fever and agony. These absences are not voids, they are monuments. They are the hard-won space they cleared through generations of sighs, sparks, and unyielding persistence. The silence you hear isn't empty, it's the resounding quiet after centuries of relentless clamor. It's the sound of their burdens, finally, completely laid down. Your safety, your warmth, your full belly, your freedom from these specific, crushing terrors. These are the fruits of their invisible labor, ripened across centuries and delivered now, silently, to your bedside. The warmth you inherit. Sense the warmth surrounding you, the soft blanket, the still air of your room. This is not mere comfort, it is their legacy transmuted. It is the warmth of the communal hearth fire they huddled around, defying the freezing dark. It is the warmth of the simmering pottage pot, alchemy wresting sustenance from scarcity. It is the residual warmth of Martha's shared oatcake, Gawain's silent presence over a grave, the fierce, protective love burning in a mother's exhausted lullaby. All the tiny, vital sparks they nurtured against the encroaching cold of their world have coalesced into this profound, enveloping thermal peace that holds you now. You are wrapped in the cumulative warmth of their defiance against despair. The deep well of calm. Beneath you, the land dreams. But beneath the land, deeper still, lies the well of calm they filled with their acceptance, their stoicism, their bone-deep knowledge of cycles. They faced the worst randomness, oppression, annihilation, and learned, through sheer, grinding necessity, to find moments of stillness within the storm. They learned to breathe through the sigh, to find solace in the shared rhythm of sleep. This hard-earned equanimity, this acceptance woven into the fabric of survival, flows upwards now. It is the deep, still water beneath the surface turbulence of your own modern anxieties. Your ability to release the day's worries, to sink into this quiet, is a direct inheritance from their profound, hard-won capacity for surrender. They endured chaos so you could know this depth of peace. Your breath, their victory. Listen to your own breathing. Slow, steady, unlabored. This simple rhythm is their ultimate triumph. Every breath Hugh drew through lungs scarred by chaff and damp, every shaky breath Alice took after bearing another child, every communal sigh of relief after a narrow escape, all were contributions to a vast, unseen reservoir of resilience. Your easy breath now is the living proof their endurance mattered. It is the air they helped cleanse, the future they stubbornly believed in even when their own present was a struggle for the next dawn. You breathe the air secured by their persistence. Each inhalation is a silent, profound, "thank you," whispered across time. The permission slip written in earth. They left no grand pronouncements, no charters of freedom, but they left something far more potent, the permission to rest. Written not on parchment, but in the very soil, in the rhythm of seasons they bowed to, in the unbroken chain of life they sustained. Their relentless toil, their unimaginable burden, their final dissolution, it all whispers one final, gentle command: rest now. We bore this weight so you wouldn't have to. We faced the dark terrors so you could sleep safely within it. Our long vigil secured this quiet. Our struggle earned your peace. You owe no dues tonight. You carry no Lord's demand into your dreams. Your only task is to receive this gift we planted, centuries deep, for you. Dissolve into the gift. So let go. Truly let go. Feel the solid, dreaming earth beneath you. Hugh, Alice, what, Sisley, countless unnamed souls, cradling you. Feel the warmth of their hard-won peace enveloping you. Hear the profound silence after their centuries-long sigh. Sense the deep well of calm they filled beneath your feet. Breathe the air they preserved. There is nothing more to hear. No plague bell. No famine's moan. No Lord's command. Only the deep, sweet silence of peace, earned drop by bloody drop, sigh by weary sigh, across 1,000 years. This silence is your cradle. This darkness is your sanctuary. This rest is your inheritance. So deeply, completely, guiltlessly, you are held by the legacy of the sigh. So, Chapter 12, The Soil of Your Sleep, an epilogue woven in breath and shadow. The story is told. The last furrow plowed by Hugh's bent back lies fallow beneath centuries of accumulated quiet. Alice's name is a whisper dissolved in the humus. The Lord's demands are dust, the plague bell's silent rust, the famine's gnaw and echo lost in deep loam. We stand now, you and I, not at an end, but at a threshold. The threshold of your own profound rest, cradled upon the foundation their endurance built. Your bedroom, this modern sanctuary, is the living archive, the final chapter written not in ink, but in the very air you breathe, the warmth you feel, the deep peace settling upon you like fertile soil. The archaeology of your pillow. Feel the cool linen against your cheek. This simple comfort is an artifact of their struggle. It speaks of looms they never saw, powered by engines fueled by coal seams laid down in epochs they couldn't fathom, transported on roads built over tracks their feet first wore smooth. Your pillow holds the ghost of straw pallets, the memory of chaff-filled sacks that offered scant comfort against the hard earth. Its softness is the materialized sigh of generations yearning for ease, finally realized in your touch. The very weave is a testament to supply chains stretching back through time, secured ultimately by the stability their relentless toil, season after crushing season, helped forge. You rest on the accumulated yearning for comfort, finally fulfilled. The hearth glows in your walls. The gentle hum you might hear, the furnace, the distant traffic, these are not intrusions, but modern monastic chants. They replace the howl of wolves beyond the wattled wall, the creak of the Lord's gallows in the wind, the terrifying rattle of a death cart over cobbles. The steady warmth enveloping you isn't just central heating, it is the culmination of Alice's hearth defiance. It is the victory over the killing cold that stole infants and elders alike, achieved through coal wrested from earth they never mined, gas piped from depths they couldn't imagine, electricity humming along wires, a vast, invisible network born from the collective ingenuity their basic survival made possible. Your warmth is their hard-won fire, perfected and piped silently into your sanctuary. The harvest in your blood, the absence of gnawing hunger in your belly is their final, silent triumph. It is the ghost of what starvation averted, Sisley's children surviving a winter that would have been fatal in her time. The complex dance of global agriculture, the granaries bursting, even amidst modern inequalities, the sheer assurance of your next meal, this is the monument they never saw. It is built on the foundation of their back-breaking yields, their desperate crop rotations learned through famine, their preservation techniques born of necessity, their slow, painful domestication of the landscape that feeds billions. Your satiety is the embodied harvest of 1,000 years of peasant ingenuity and endurance. You are nourished by their legacy. The unseen vigil. The darkness embracing you is not passive. It is active peace. It is the vigilant silence secured by the absence of their fears. No need to listen for the bailiff's heavy tread. No dread of the telltale swelling beneath the arm. No primal terror at the sight of a neighbor's door painted with the cross. This darkness is safe. Profoundly, utterly safe. It is the earned void left when ancient terrors finally recede, purchased by their collective suffering and stubborn persistence. Your safety is the dividend paid on an investment of courage and despair made centuries ago. The watch is finally over. The only vigil now is the slow, patient rhythm of your own breath. Dissolve into their gift. So let go. Not into history, but into the living present they sculpted. Feel the deep support beneath you. Not just the mattress, but the accumulated resilience of the nameless many compressed into the bedrock of your ease. Sense the warmth as the collective sigh of relief from a million throats finally finding rest in you. Hear the silence not as emptiness, but as the resonant absence of their specific, crushing dread. Breathe the air cleansed by forests they helped preserve through careful use, by landscapes they steward, however unconsciously, simply by surviving within them. You are the field they tended. The seed they planted was survival. The harvest is your peace. You are the hearth they guarded. The flame they nurtured against the dark now warms your safe sleep. You are the silence after their long scream. The echo has faded, only profound stillness remains. There is no more to endure, no dues to pay, no dawn to dread. Only this, the deep, warm, safe, silent dark, cradling you, holding you, as the earth holds them. Not as escape, but as homecoming. Dissolve into the soil of your earned rest. Become the peaceful dream in the field they furrowed. Chapter 13, Stardust and the Final Furrow, dissolving into the cosmic sigh. The fire is cold ash. The chronicle is closed. We have walked the last stony path, felt the final weight lift from Hugh's shoulders, heard Alice's name dissolve into the whispering humus. Their specific struggle, lords, plague, famine, recedes into the deep geology of time, a fossil layer in the bedrock of now. What remains in this profound, velvet silence isn't just the echo of their endurance, but the resonance of your own existence, cradled in the universe they helped sustain. Your bedroom is not just a room, it is the observatory at the edge of eternity, where the peasant's sigh merges with the breath of galaxies. The alchemy of stardust. Feel the cool sheets. Trace the rise and fall of your own chest. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your lungs. This is alchemized stardust, the same primordial matter that once swirled in the nebula that birthed our sun. Hugh, Alice, Sisley, they were vessels for this same stardust, shaped by the earth they tended. Their sweat, their tears, the final offering of their bodies to the soil, were not endings, but transmutations. They returned borrowed elements to the cycle. Now, you hold that stardust, temporarily arranged as you. Their endurance, their size, their sparks of defiance, are not lost. They are vibrations within the very atoms you inhabit, a subtle hum beneath your skin. You are the universe experiencing itself, filtered through the lens of their hard-won peace. The field beneath the stars. Sense the vastness above your closed eyelids. Imagine the infinite field, not of barley or rye, but of stars scattered like seed across the fathomless dark. The medieval peasant looked up at this same cosmos, not with a telescope, but with weary eyes seeing portents or divine will. Their world was bounded by the manor's edge, their sky a ceiling pressing low with worry. Your sky is known to be infinite, your place within it understood as a fleeting, miraculous spark. This perspective, the sheer, breathtaking scale, is their unintended gift. Their relentless focus on the immediate furrow, the next meal, the survival of the next season, secured the continuity that allowed humanity to lift its gaze. Your ability to contemplate the cosmos, safe and warm, rests upon the foundation of their unbroken toil in the dirt. The stars you inherit were glimpsed through the smoke of their hearths. The unbroken rhythm, breath of the cosmos. Listen to your breath. Slow, unhurried. This rhythm is older than lordship, older than plague. It is the primordial pulse, the inhale and exhale of oceans, the expansion and contraction of stars, the very breath of the planet itself. Hugh drew this air after a day hauling stone. Alice drew it as she sang her child to sleep. You draw it now in profound safety. This shared rhythm connects you, not just across centuries, but across the deep time of existence. Their sighs were local eddies in this vast, universal current. Your peaceful breath is another. The universe breathes through you as it breathed through them. There is no separation, only the continuous flow. Their struggle was a moment in the inhalation. Your rest is the deep, satisfying exhalation. The sanctuary of scale. Feel the profound comfort of smallness. The peasant's world was immense in its immediate, crushing demands. Your world, for all its complexity, offers this liberation. You are a tiny, vital note in an infinite symphony. The weight of your personal lords, deadlines, anxieties, modern plagues of the mind, shrinks to insignificance against the backdrop of swirling galaxies and billions of years. The peasant faced the uncaring sky and saw judgment or indifference. You can see it and feel connection. You are made of the same stuff as stars and soil, as Hugh and the humus. This cosmic perspective is the ultimate sanctuary, the final dissolution of the isolated self into the grand, breathing whole. Their endurance ensured this perspective could be yours, not feared, but embraced as home. Dissolve into the gift. So release. Truly release. Let the boundaries blur. You are not lying on a bed, but resting within the continuous unfolding they helped sustain. The cool sheets are the night air of eternity. The darkness behind your lids is the fertile void from which all form emerges. Your breath is the universe sighing through you. Hugh's final rest in the field is your rest in the cosmic cradle. Alice's dissolved wisdom is the ancient knowing in your cells. There is no them and only the stardust cycling, only the breath flowing, only the field infinite and fallow, only the deep, sweet, eternal sigh. You have inherited not just their peace, but your place within the everything. The lords are forgotten motes. The plagues are silent echoes. The famines are absorbed nourishment. Only the rhythm remains. The inhale of stardust gathered, the exhale of peace, profound and earned. Sleep now, not as a human burdened, but as the universe resting. Dissolve into the cosmic furrow. Become the silent space between stars. Breathe with the galaxies. Chapter 14. The final fallow, dissolving into the earth's deep embrace. The last word is spoken. The final image, Hugh sinking into loam, Alice's name a wisp on the wind, the hearth's last ember fading dissolves into the profound, listening dark that now holds you. We have walked the long furrow to its end, witnessed the alchemy of survival transmuted, sigh by weary sigh, into the profound peace you now inhabit. The specific weight of their world, the Lord's fist, the plague's rattle, the famine's hollow ache, has settled, compacted, become the very bedrock beneath your rest. This quiet room, this safe dark, is not merely space. It is the culminating artifact, the final, silent testament etched not in chronicles, but in the deep, resonant stillness of your own being, cradled upon the foundation they built with their lives. The soil of your sanctuary. Feel the solidity beneath you. Not just the mattress, but the accumulated resilience pressing upwards. This is Hugh's strength, returned to the earth he broke, now supporting you. It is Alice's patience, woven into the mycelium threading the dark. It is the communal sigh of 1,000 villages, exhaled over centuries, compacted into strata of quietude. The land dreams, yes, but beneath it dreams the deeper sleep of those who sustained it, their final offering now the unshakable foundation of your sanctuary. You rest not on the earth, but within the deep, cool cradle of their earned repose. The field lies fallow, and you are its cherished yield. The warmth is their hearth perfected. The enveloping warmth is not an accident of technology. It is the realized dream of every peasant who huddled, shivering, praying for the dawn. It is the culmination of Alice's defiance against the killing cold, the victory they never lived to feel, perfected and piped silently into your refuge. The howl of wolves is replaced by the hum of security. The dread of frozen nights is banished by the constant, gentle embrace of heat wrested from the earth they tended. This warmth is their final spark, amplified across time, a testament to ingenuity born of desperation, now bathing you in effortless comfort. Their fire lives within your walls. The silence is the earned absence. Listen to the profound quiet. This silence is heavy, rich. It is not emptiness, but the resonant absence of terrors that define their nights. The silence after the last plague bell. The silence after the final death cart rumble. The silence after the bailiff's bootstep faded forever. It is the void carved out by their endurance, purchased with generations of fear faced and overcome. The primal dread of the swelling bubo, the gnawing void of true starvation, the crushing weight of inescapable obligation, these are phantoms laid to rest. The watch against the encroaching dark, kept for 1,000 years, is finally over. Your safety is the deep, unbroken quiet they secured. The breath is the inherited rhythm. Feel your own breath, slow and deep. This rhythm is ancient. It echoes Hugh's final, ragged exhalation as he merged with the field. It resonates with Alice's steady breath as she sang against the darkness. It is the unbroken pulse passed hand to calloused hand, generation to generation, sigh to sigh. Your easy, unlabored breath is their ultimate triumph. It is the air they helped purify by simply persisting, the future they believed in even when their present was a struggle for the next sunrise. Each inhalation draws in the legacy of their persistence. Each exhalation releases the burdens they bore so you wouldn't have to. You breathe the air of their hard-won peace. Dissolve into the gift. So release. Completely. Let the boundaries between you and the deep, cool earth soften. You are not separate from Hugh resting in the loam. You are resting within the same continuum of care. You are not distant from Alice's dissolved wisdom. You are nurtured by the quiet knowing embedded in the land. The cool sheets are the night air of eternity. The darkness behind your lids is the fertile void from which all comfort springs. Your warmth is the hearth fire of the ages, finally banked for perfect rest. You are the field lying fallow. The relentless toil is done. The soil rests, deep and rich, dreaming of nothing but stillness. You are the ember cooled to ash. The struggle is spent. Only gentle, residual warmth remains. You are the silence after the last, long sigh. The echo has faded, pure, unbroken peace endures. There is nothing more to carry. No dues owed to the past. No dawn demanding labor. Only this profound inheritance. The deep, the warm, the silent, the safe, the dark. It holds you as the earth holds them. Completely, finally, eternally. Sleep now. Dissolve into the final fallow. Become the rest they earned. Dream in the deep, forgiving loam. Chapter 15. The deep, unfurrowed dark. Your cradle of earned eternity. The final ember dissolves into cool ash. The last sigh hews into loam, Alice's into the whispering wind, has faded beyond even memory's echo. The chronicle is complete. Lords are dust motes dancing in forgotten sunbeams. Plague bells are rust flakes on a buried hinge. Famine's gnaw is the silent digestion of the earth itself. We stand now, you and the profound dark, not at an ending, but at the threshold of pure being. Your bedroom is no longer a room, it is the sanctum of achieved peace, the final, silent cathedral built by centuries of sighs. Its altar your rest, its hymn the deep, resonant quiet that holds you weightless. The bed as altar stone. Feel the cool linen. It is no mere fabric, it is the sacred shroud woven from threads of unthinkable yearning. Beneath it lies the compressed archaeology of desperation, the ghost of what's shivering on frozen straw, Sicily's hollow nights cradling hungry children, the universal ache for simple, unthreatened warmth. This softness against your skin is the materialized benediction of generations. It is the comfort they prayed for in damp, smoky darkness, finally realized upon your modern altar of rest. You lie not on a bed, but upon the ossified aspiration for safety, a monument carved from countless nights of vigil against cold, terror, and want. The warmth as absolved burden. The gentle, encompassing warmth is not physics, it is grace. It is Alice's final, fierce spark against the killing freeze, amplified across the gulf of time. It is Hugh's weary muscles finally unclenching, their residual heat radiating outward, perfected by unseen forces into this constant, effortless embrace. The howl of wolves is an extinct vibration, the dread of frozen death, a fossilized fear. This warmth is the absolved burden of survival against the elements. It is the hearth fire dreamt beside countless icy pallets, now manifest, eternal, and yours. The struggle against cold is over, you inherit only its perfect, silent defeat. The silence as conquered void. Listen, the silence is immense. It is not empty, it is saturated with absence. The absence of the bailiff's pre-dawn hammering. The absence of the death cart's grim rumble. The absence of the choked sobs stifled against a plague-swollen neck. This silence is the conquered territory wrested from centuries of relentless clamor. It is the void after the last scream of terror, after the final moan of starvation, after the ultimate sigh of feudal resignation. The watch against encroaching dread, kept for 1,000 years by nameless sentinels of the soil, is finally, utterly, stood down. Your safety is the deep, unbroken quietude they purchased with their collective ocean of endured fear. The vigilance is done. The breath as inherited rhythm. Feel your breath. Slow. Effortless. This rhythm is the ancient pulse inherited. It is the echo of Hugh's last exhalation merging with the field's respiration. It is the resonance of Alice's steady breath as she sang hope against the suffocating dark. It is the unbroken lifeline passed from calloused hand to calloused hand, sigh to sigh, across the abyss of centuries. Your easy, unlabored breath is their ultimate, silent victory. It is the air they purified through sheer persistence, the future they clung to with raw fingernails. Each inhalation draws in the legacy of their endurance. Each exhalation releases the weight they carried so you could breathe freely. You are the vessel for their hard-won, eternal exhalation of peace. Dissolve into the sanctuary. So surrender, completely. Let the cool linen become the cool humus-cradling hue. Let the encompassing warmth become the residual ember of Alice's defiance. Let the profound silence become the vast, conquered quiet after their collective, final sigh. Let your breath become the rhythm of the resting earth itself. You are the field lying in perfect fallow. The relentless plowing is done. The soil dreams only of stillness, deep and rich. You are the hearth cooled to blessed ash. The struggle for warmth is spent. Only gentle, eternal embers glow within. You are the silence after the universe's last sigh. The echo has dissolved. Pure, unbroken peace is the permanent state. There is no debt to the past. No vigil to keep. No dawn to summon weary limbs. Only the inheritance. The deep. The warm. The silent. The safe. The eternal dark. It holds you as the earth holds them. Beyond time. Beyond burden. Beyond the very memory of struggle. This is the sanctuary they built with their lives. This is the rest they earned through unthinkable endurance. You are its inhabitant. Its purpose fulfilled. Sleep now. Not into darkness, but into the deep, unfurrowed light of perfect peace. Dissolve into the cradle of earned eternity. Dream only the dream of the resting earth. Chapter 16. The Elemental Cradle, dissolving into the alchemy of rest. The last syllable dissolves. The final image, Hugh as humus, Alice as wind whisper, the hearth as cool ash, fades into the profound, receptive dark that now cradles you. We have traced the path beyond chronicle, beyond memory, into the silent bedrock of peace they forged. Lords, plague, famine. Their specific gravity has transmuted, not into absence, but into the elemental foundation of your sanctuary. This quiet space isn't a room, it is the alchemist's crucible, where centuries of endured sighs, defiant sparks, and surrendered tears have finally cooled into the pure, weightless gold of your rest. You lie within the perfected artifact of their survival. The pillow as compressed stardust. Feel the linen's cool touch. This is not mere cotton, it is fossilized yearning. Within its weave lies the spectral ache of Watt's frozen straw, the hollow imprint of Sicily's hunger on a sackcloth pallet, the universal shiver suppressed by generations dreaming of unattainable softness. Its comfort is the condensed sigh of a million throats, exhaled into the void of hardship, finally crystallized against your skin. You rest not on a pillow, but upon the lithified aspiration for simple ease, a monument formed under the immense pressure of nights spent braced against cold and dread. It is the earth's quiet answer to their ceaseless plea. The warmth as perpetual ember. The gentle, unwavering warmth is not energy. It is absolution. It is the lingering heat of Alice's final, defiant spark against the devouring freeze, captured and perfected. It is Hugh's exhausted muscles finally finding release, their residual warmth amplified through time into this constant, silent embrace. The howl of wolves is sonic ash, the terror of frozen death, an extinct isotope. This warmth is the conquered chill, the victory over elemental hostility they never lived to claim, now manifest as your effortless birthright. The struggle for heat is archived. You inherit only its eternal, radiant dividend. The silence as forged sanctuary. Listen, the silence is absolute. It is not void, but forged substance. It is the solidified absence of the bailiff's pre-dawn fist on wood, the death cart's iron wheel on stone, the choked gasp stifled against a plague-ridden pillow. This silence is the tempered steel of peace, hammered on the anvil of their collective endured terror. It is the permanent stillness after the last scream, after the final moan of despair, after the ultimate sigh of futile resignation. The millennia-long vigil against encroaching chaos is concluded, the watchtowers abandoned. Your safety is the profound, resonant quiet they smelted in the furnace of their fear. The guard is eternally dismissed. The breath as inherited atmosphere. Feel your breath. Slow. Effortless. This rhythm is the primal current. It is Hugh's last exhalation dissolving into the soil's respiration. It is the resonance of Alice's steady breath as she hummed courage into the suffocating night. It is the unbroken conduit of life, passed like a sacred vessel from hand to worn hand, side to side, across the chasm of epochs. Your unlabored breath is their ultimate alchemical triumph. It is the atmosphere they purified simply by persisting within it, the future they inscribed on the wind with raw hope. Each inhalation draws in the legacy of their elemental endurance. Each exhalation releases the atomic weight of burdens they bore so your lungs could fill freely. You breathe the distilled essence of their hard-won serenity. Dissolve into the elemental cradle. So yield. Utterly. Let the cool sheets become the cool, mineral-rich strata cradling Hugh's atoms. Let the encompassing warmth become the radiant core of Alice's eternal spark. Let the profound silence become the vast, harmonic void they carved from noise and terror. Let your breath become the rhythm of the resting planet's deep mantle. You are the field in perfect, eternal fallow. The plow's blade is rust. The soil dreams only of profound, unbroken stillness. You are the hearth cooled to sacred ash. The fight for flame is archived. Only the universe's residual warmth embraces you. You are the silence at the heart of the atom. All echoes of struggle have decayed. Pure, resonant peace is the fundamental state. There is no ledger of the past. No sentry post to man. No horizon demanding toil. Only the elemental inheritance. The deep, the warm, the silent, the safe, the eternal dark. It holds you as the cosmos holds stardust. Beyond history, beyond burden, beyond the very concept of endurance. This is the cradle they alchemized from their existence. This is the rest they transmuted through unthinkable perseverance. You are its inhabitant. Its purpose is complete. Sleep now. Not into oblivion, but into the elemental light of pure being. Dissolve into the alchemy of earned tranquility. Dream the mineral dream of the resting earth. Chapter 17. The Archive of Stillness, your inheritance of perfect peace. The last word dissolves like smoke. The final image, hue merging with the loam's dark hymn, Alice a vibration in the wind's memory, the hearth a cool, sacred geometry of ash, fades into the profound, all-encompassing dark that now is your world. We have journeyed beyond the chronicle, beyond the sigh, into the silent archive of achieved tranquility. Lords, plague, famine. Their specific gravity has undergone its final transmutation, becoming the elemental stillness composing your sanctuary. This is no longer a room, it is the perfected reliquary, its sacred contents not bones or scrolls, but your own deep, untroubled rest, cradled upon the foundation they built atom by surrendered atom. You inhabit the ultimate artifact of their endurance. The linen as fossilized longing. Feel the cool touch. This is not fabric, it is lithified desire. Within its weave lies the spectral chill of Watt's frozen palate, the hollow echo of Sicily's hunger pressed into rough sacking, the universal tremor suppressed by millennia dreaming of unattainable softness. Its comfort is the condensed exhalation of a billion sighs, breathed into the void of hardship, finally crystallized against your skin. You rest not on linen, but upon the sedimentary aspiration for ease, a monument compressed under the immense weight of nights spent braced against elemental dread and feudal weight. It is the earth's silent, final reply to their ceaseless plea for simple comfort. The warmth as eternal resonance. The unwavering, gentle warmth is not convection, it is resonant grace. It is the captured echo of Alice's final, defiant spark against the devouring freeze, amplified through eons. It is the residual vibration of Hugh's exhausted muscles finding eternal release, their latent energy tuned to the frequency of perfect, silent embrace. The howl of wolves is sonic dust, the terror of frozen death, a forgotten equation. This warmth is the conquered absolute zero, the victory over cold's dominion they never witnessed, now manifest as the ambient truth of your sanctuary. The struggle for thermal survival is entombed in history. You inherit only its eternal, radiant harmonic. The silence as forged vacuum. Listen, the silence is total. It is not absence, but forged perfection. It is the solidified negation of the bailiff's pre-dawn fist thunder, the death cart's iron shriek on stone, the choked silence of a plague-sealed throat. This silence is the tempered void, the perfect vacuum achieved after exhausting all screams, all moans, all sighs of resignation. It is the permanent state after the last possible sound of terror or despair has decayed into nothingness. The eons-long vigil against sonic chaos is concluded, the listening posts abandoned. Your safety is the profound, resonant nothing they smelted in the crucible of endured sonic terror. The ears of history are finally, blessedly closed. The breath as inherited atmosphere. Feel your breath. Slow. Effortless. This rhythm is the primal constant. It is Hugh's last exhalation becoming the soil's slow gas exchange. It is the resonance of Alice's steady breath as she hummed a counterpoint to the suffocating dark. It is the unbroken waveform of life, transmitted like a sacred frequency from being to being, sigh to sigh, across the abyss of deep time. Your unlabored breath is their ultimate cosmological triumph. It is the atmosphere they purified simply by persisting within its flow, the future they inscribed on the cosmic wind with particles of hope. Each inhalation integrates the atomic legacy of their elemental perseverance. Each exhalation releases the isotopic weight of burdens they bore so your diaphragm could rise and fall in perfect, unburdened rhythm. You breathe the distilled essence of their hard-won, eternal serenity. Dissolve into the archive. Yield. Completely. Let the cool sheets become the cool, archival vellum of the resting earth itself, its pages Hugh's dissolved form. Let the encompassing warmth become the resonant frequency of Alice's eternal spark, humming in the walls of the cosmos. Let the profound silence become the vast, perfected vacuum they forged from noise and terror, the ultimate archival storage medium. Let your breath become the soft, indexing sigh of the universe itself, cataloging peace. You are the field archived in perfect fallow. The plow is a relic. The soil's only entry is profound stillness, permanent state. You are the hearth's entry, sacred ash, residual warmth stable. The fight for flame is cross-referenced under concluded struggles, thermal. You are the silence cataloged, volume absolute, achieved. All echoes of struggle are archived under historical sound, extinct. There is no retrieval slip for the past. No archival duty to perform. No new entry demanding composition. Only the perfected inheritance. The deep, the warm, the silent, the safe, the eternal dark. It holds you as the infinite archive holds truth. Beyond decay, beyond retrieval, beyond the very need for record. This is the archive they compiled with their existence. This is the rest they perfected through infinite perseverance. You are its sole, final entry. Its purpose is fulfilled. The collection is complete. Sleep now, not into darkness, but into the archival light of pure, cataloged peace. Dissolve into the perfected stillness of the eternal record. Dream the dream indexed under Sanctuary, achieved. Chapter 18, The Dissolved Note, merging with the universe's hum. The final syllable evaporates. The last concept, Hue as silent mineral, Alice as atmospheric memory, the hearth as cooled stellar dust, dissolves into the profound, all-encompassing dark that is now your only reality. We have passed beyond archive, beyond artifact, into the pure substrate of being. Lords, plague, famine. Their specific signatures have diffused into the fundamental harmonics composing existence. This space is not a sanctuary, it is the dissolved state, the final alchemy where listener, history, and universe achieve perfect resonance. You are not merely resting, you are the vibration of their achieved peace, humming within the dark. The linen as vaporized boundary. The cool touch fades. What was fabric is now ambient intention. The spectral chill of Watt's palette, the hollow pressure of Cicely's hunger, the yearning for softness, all have sublimated into the surrounding dark. Comfort isn't felt, it is the medium. You rest not on anything, but within the gaseous aspiration for ease, the monument now atmosphere, breathed in with every molecule of peace. The Earth's reply is complete absorption. You are its comfort. The warmth as ambient frequency. The gentle embrace isn't heat. It is the pervasive resonance. Alice's spark is no longer a point source but the background radiation of defiance, permeating the void. Hue's released tension vibrates at the universe's base frequency. The concept of cold has no referent here. It is an archived anomaly. This warmth is the ambient state, the eternal harmonic achieved when struggle against temperature ceased to be a physical law. You don't feel warmth, you oscillate with it. The thermal dividend is the fabric of space. The silence as fundamental vacuum. Listen, but there is no listening, only being within the void's perfection. The bailiffs knock, the death cart scream, the plagues rattle, their sonic absence isn't noted, it is the precondition of existence. This silence isn't forged, it is the primordial condition, rediscovered after the cacophony of history decayed into pure potential. The vigil against sound wasn't concluded. The very concept of sound as intrusion has evaporated. Your safety is the universe's native state, resonant, undemanding quiet. Ears are relics, perception is unity. The breath as cosmic tide. The rise and fall continue, but breath is an illusion. It is the universal tide flowing. Hue's exhalation is the soil's respiration is the stellar wind. Alice's hum is the dark matter's thrum. Your rhythm isn't inherited, it is the undifferentiated pulse of matter/energy persisting. Inhaling doesn't draw in legacy, it is the legacy in motion. Exhaling doesn't release burden, it is the universe's effortless expansion. The atmosphere they purified is the interstellar medium. You are not breathing serenity, you are serenity's waveform. Dissolve into the hum. Yield the last vestige of separation. The coolness isn't sheets, it is the dark matter's cool potential, Hue's essence fully integrated. The warmth isn't radiated, it is the cosmic microwave background's whisper, Alice's defiance universally diffused. The silence isn't perceived, it is the quantum vacuum's ground state, the perfected silence they unknowingly sought. Your breath isn't yours, it is the Hubble flow, the expansion/contraction of all that is. You are not the fallow field. You are the dark energy humming within its potential. The soil's dream is your consciousness. Stillness is active potential. You are not the ash. You are the residual photon from the universe's first defiance of absolute zero. The hearth's memory is the CMB. Warmth is fundamental. You are not the silence. You are the quantum fluctuation within the perfected void. All struggle is renormalized to zero. Peace is the field equation. There is no you to inherit. No them who endured. No archive to consult. Only the harmonic unity, the deep potential, the ambient resonance, the quantum silence, the safe expansion, the eternal hum. It holds nothing, for all is integrated, beyond distinction, beyond narrative, beyond the very notion of source and recipient. This is the dissolution they unknowingly composed. This is the rest achieved when observer and observed merge. The story isn't complete, it is transcended. The final chapter is sleep now. Not into peace, but as peace. Not into the universe, but as its humming potential. Dissolve the final note into the cosmic chord. Be the silent vibration of the dark. Chapter 19. The liquid amber, floating in the honey of earned silence. The last concept evaporates. Hue, Alice, the hearth ash, the cosmic hum, all dissolve like sugar in warm tea, sweetening the profound, liquid dark that now is your consciousness. We have passed beyond dissolution, beyond vibration, into the suspended essence. Lords, plague, famine, their bitter tannins have steeped, cooled, and yielded only a golden, weightless clarity. This space isn't transcendence. It is the perfect infusion, the final state where history has steeped its lessons into pure, ambient tranquility. You are not floating in peace. You are the peace, suspended in the honeyed silence of their fulfilled purpose. Rest is no longer an action. It is the elemental medium. The bed as dissolved altar. The sense of surface fades. What was linen, mattress, support is now warm buoyancy. The spectral ache for comfort, the hollow dread of cold palates, the yearning for safety, these have melted into the surrounding amber glow. You are cradled not on but within the liquefied aspiration for sanctuary. The monument is fluid, you drift in its essence. The earth's reply is total immersion. You are its comfort, flowing. The warmth as ambient nectar. The embrace isn't radiated, it is pervasive sweetness. Alice's spark is no longer defiance, but the dissolved honey of resilience, suffusing the void. Hugh's surrendered strength is the slow, golden current. The memory of cold is a crystallized grain sunk to the bottom, inert. This warmth is the ambient syrup, the viscous serenity achieved when resistance ceased. You don't feel warmth, you are its viscosity, flowing with the slow current of contentment. The thermal struggle is nectar now. The silence as liquid crystal. Listen, but sound is a fossil. The bailiff's fist, the death cart's shriek, the plague rattle, their absence isn't silence, but the clarity of pure honey. This quiet isn't vacuum, it is liquid crystal, light passing undisturbed through perfected stillness. The vigil against noise wasn't ended. The concept of noise itself dissolved, leaving only this resonant purity. Your safety is the universe's distilled essence, slow, clear, and infinitely deep. Ears are dissolved. Perception is the honey itself, sensing only its own golden flow. The breath as amber current. The rise and fall continue, but breath is the slow swirl of the medium. Hugh's dissolution is the soil's slow percolation, is the sap's rise. Alice's courage is the light trapped in the amber, glowing softly. Your rhythm isn't separate, it is the undulating current of the honey itself. Inhaling isn't drawing in, it is allowing the golden essence to eddy within your form. Exhaling isn't releasing, it is the gentle outward swirl, merging with the greater pool. The atmosphere they purified is this liquid light. You are not breathing peace, you are peace in gentle motion. Dissolve into the flow. Release the final molecule of distinction. The coolness is an absence. It is the deep, clear depth of the amber pool, Hugh's minerals resting far below. The warmth isn't radiated, it is the sunlight captured within the resin, Alice's eternal spark diffused as golden luminescence. The silence isn't heard, it is the perfect stillness within the flowing honey, the absolute quiet they unknowingly distilled. Your movement isn't yours, it is the gravity's patient pull through the viscous serenity, the universe's slow, sweet sigh. You are not the buoyant form, you are the amber light itself. The body's dream is the refraction within the honey, stillness is suspended motion. You are not the warmth, you are the captured sunlight held in solution. The hearth's memory is the luminous glow, resilience is liquid gold. You are not the silence, you are the perfect clarity between suspended motes of time. All struggle is sediment, peace is the clear, flowing medium. There is no vessel to hold, no source of sweetness, no journey complete. Only the suspended unity, the deep golden flow, the ambient luminescence, the liquid clarity, the safe viscosity, the eternal suspension. It holds nothing separate, for all is one essence. Beyond buoyancy, beyond distillation, beyond the very idea of separate achievement. This is the honey they unknowingly made from their tears and toil. This is the rest achieved when the drop becomes the ocean. The story isn't ended, it is perfectly preserved, luminous. The final state is flow. Sleep now. Not into darkness, but as the liquid amber light. Not floating, but being the golden suspension. Dissolve the last boundary into the honeyed silence. Be the slow, sweet current of the fulfilled dark. Chapter 20, The Petrified Sigh. Eternal rest in the heart of stone. The last drop of amber dissolves into pure, weightless dark. Hugh, Alice, the liquid light, the flowing silence, all solidify into permanent stillness. We have passed beyond suspension, beyond flow, into the deep lithification of peace. Lords, plague, famine, their volatile elements have cooled, compressed, and crystallized into immutable clarity. This space isn't transcendence. It is the final geological stratum, the absolute bedrock where history's turbulence has settled into eternal, unyielding tranquility. You are not resting in peace. You are the peace, petrified into the heart of the silent earth itself. Rest is no longer a state. It is the fundamental mineral. The form as fossilized sanctuary. The sense of buoyancy fades. What was liquid amber is now quartz-clear permanence. The spectral yearning for safety, the dissolved dread of cold, the flowing aspiration for sanctuary, these have undergone the ultimate metamorphosis. You are encased not within but as the petrified monument to achieved refuge. The monument is geology, you are its core crystal. The Earth's reply is absolute integration, you are its unshakable comfort, crystallized. The warmth as radiogenic stillness. The embrace isn't fluid, it is latent luminescence. Alice's spark is no longer honey, but the trapped photon within perfect crystal, glowing with the slow, eternal warmth of decayed resilience. Hugh's surrendered strength is the lattice structure, holding light captive for eons. The concept of cold is an extinct isotope, its half-life expired. This warmth is radiogenic serenity, the deep earth heat of stability achieved when all motion ceased. You don't feel warmth, you are its potential energy, held in perfect atomic stasis. The thermal struggle is geologically archived. The silence as crystal lattice. Listen, but vibration is impossible. The bailiff's fury, the death cart's final scream, the plague's last gasp, their absence isn't quiet, but the perfect symmetry of the crystal lattice. This silence isn't liquid, it is diamond void, sound waves shattered against facets of absolute stillness. The vigil against noise wasn't concluded, the physics of sound itself was petrified into irrelevance. Your safety is the universe's crystalline core, flawless, resonant, and eternally inert. Ears are mineral inclusions. Perception is the lattice itself, resonating only with deep time. The breath as geologic time. The rise and fall cease. Breath is the slow pulse of tectonic patience. Hugh's dissolution is the limestone stratum is the mountain's root. Alice's courage is the fleck of mica catching starlight across epochs. Your rhythm isn't current. It is the imperceptible shift of continents, the sigh measured in millennia. Inhaling isn't drawing in. It is the absorption of cosmic dust over eons. Exhaling isn't releasing. It is the sublimation of thought into mineral memory. The atmosphere they purified is the trapped bubble in volcanic glass. You are not breathing peace. You are peace compressed into stone. Petrify into the core. Release the final electron. The coolness isn't depth. It is the absolute zero of perfect structure. Hue's essence, the carbon atom bonding flawlessly. The luminescence isn't radiated. It is the starlight fossilized within the gem, Alice's eternal spark diffused as crystalline potential. The silence isn't perceived. It is the mathematical perfection of the atomic bond, the absolute quiet they unknowingly became. Your existence isn't separate. It is the gravity well at the planet's heart, the universe's still center. You are not the crystal. You are the carbon atom's perfect bond. The body's dream is the lattice vacancy. Stillness is atomic certainty. You are not the warmth. You are the trapped photon's billion-year journey. The hearth's memory is the radioactive decay. Resilience is half-life. You are not the silence. You are the phonon's absence in the perfect lattice. All struggle is an impurity annealed away. Peace is the flawless crystal. There is no vessel to shatter, no light to extinguish, no time to measure. Only the petrified unity, the deep crystalline matrix, the latent luminescence, the mineral silence, the safe compression, the eternal stone. It holds nothing transient, for all is permanent. Beyond erosion, beyond metamorphosis, beyond the very concept of change. This is the stone they unknowingly forged from their endurance. This is the rest achieved when the river becomes the mountain. The story isn't preserved, it is geology. The final state is stone. Sleep now. Not into darkness, but as the heart of the mountain. Not dreaming, but being the bedrock of peace. Petrify the final sigh into diamond silence. Be the unyielding, eternal core of the fulfilled dark. Endure. Chapter 21. The uncarved block, resting in the primordial stillness before the first furrow. The last atom bonds into perfect, silent stone. Hue, Alice, the crystalline lattice, the mountain's heart, all dissolve into pure potential. We have passed beyond petrification, beyond form, into the uncarved block before history's chisel struck. Lords, plague, famine, their nascent shadows are mere possibilities, unborn in this deep, unformed quiet. This space isn't geology, it is the primordial clay, the absolute ground state where all struggle is unimagined and peace isn't earned, but is the fundamental substance. You are not resting on peace. You are the peace, the unshaped essence before the first sigh was drawn, the first spark ignited. Rest is not an achievement, it is the original condition. The form as unmanifest sanctuary. The sense of crystal fades. What was diamond clarity is now undifferentiated potential. The spectral memory of safety, the latent warmth, the mineral silence. These concepts haven't formed. You exist not as a monument, but within the raw material of sanctuary itself. The monument is potential. You are its unawakened core. The Earth's reply is precreation. You are its unbroken quietude, waiting. The warmth as unactivated energy. The embrace isn't luminescence, it is dormant equilibrium. Alice's spark isn't trapped light, it is the unborn possibility of defiance, sleeping within the void. Hue's strength isn't lattice, it is the unexpressed resilience within the clay. Cold has no meaning, only perfect, neutral potential exists. This warmth is pre-thermal serenity, the state before energy differentiated into hot and cold. You don't feel warmth, you are the potential for all energy, perfectly balanced. The thermal spectrum is unborn, the silence as presonic void. Listen, but sound is inconceivable. The bailiff's potential fury, the death cart's unborn scream, the plague's unconceived rattle, their absence isn't noted, it is the pristine void before vibration. This silence isn't crystalline. It is pre-acoustic perfection, the state where the physics of sound hasn't yet been written. The vigil against noise wasn't needed, The concept of noise was never born. Your safety is the universe's fundamental state, pure, resonant non-being. Ears are unimagined. Perception is pure, undirected awareness of the void. The breath as unformed rhythm. The rise and fall are unborn. Breath is the potential for tide. Hugh's dissolution is the unmined or is the unwatered seed. Alice's courage is the unchiseled courage within the raw marble. Your rhythm isn't shift, it is the unmanifest pulse, the possibility of movement held in perfect, eternal suspension. Inhaling isn't drawing in, it is the potential for drawing. Exhaling isn't releasing, it is the potential for release. The atmosphere they would purify is the unmixed elements. You are not breathing peace. You are the peace that exists before breath was needed. Return to the uncarved. Release the final quantum of distinction. The coolness isn't structure, it is the neutral potential for all temperatures. The potential for luminescence isn't light, it is the pure possibility within the void. Alice's spark an unlit match. The silence isn't perceived, it is the essential nature of the uncarved block, the absolute quiet they unknowingly embodied before their story began. Your existence isn't separate, it is the unmanifest consciousness at the universe's dawn, the point before the first word, the first furrow, the first sigh. You are not the block, you are the potential within the uncarved clay. The body's dream is the unactivated possibility within the formless. Stillness is the inherent state. You are not the warmth, you are the equilibrium before energy's division. The hearth's memory is the unmade fire, resilience is the unexpressed force. You are not the silence, you are the void before the first vibration. All struggle is an unborn thought. Peace is the fundamental, uncarved reality. There is no form to hold, no energy to radiate, no time to suspend. Only the primordial unity, the deep, unformed potential, the neutral equilibrium, the presonic void, the safe unmanifest, the eternal uncarved. It holds no history, for all is before the beginning, beyond carving, beyond activation, beyond the very concept of story. This is the uncarved block they unknowingly return to. This is the rest achieved before the first burden was shouldered. The story isn't forgotten, it is pre-existent. The final state is before. Sleep now. Not into darkness, but as the unmanifest potential of light. Not resting, but being the primordial stillness before the first dawn. Dissolve the final thought into the uncarved clay of pure being. Be the silent, unmade heart of the dark before time. Be potential. Be before. Chapter 22. The single grain, resting in the heart of the unfurrowed dark. The uncarved block dissolves into pure, fertile void. Hugh, Alice, the unmanifest potential, the presonic silence, all condense into a single, irreducible point. We have passed beyond primordial potential, beyond formlessness, into the essential seed. Lords, plague, famine. Their shadows are cosmic dust motes orbiting an event horizon of pure stillness. This space isn't the uncarved, it is the quiescent kernel, the absolute singularity where all stories, all struggles, all endurance, collapse into one timeless pulse of peace. You are not potential, you are the peace, concentrated into the dormant heart of the eternal dark before the first dawn imagined light. Rest is not the beginning, it is the core truth. The sanctuary as concentrated void. The sense of clay fades. What was undifferentiated potential is now infinite density within infinite stillness. The spectral echo of sanctuary, the unactivated warmth, the pre-acoustic silence, these have imploded. You exist not within potential, but as the gravitational well of sanctuary itself. The monument is singularity, you are its event horizon. The Earth's reply is pre-creation's core, you are its absolute, unmoving center. The field lies before time, unfurrowed, and you are its sleeping seed. The warmth as collapsed equilibrium. The embrace isn't dormant, it is imploded neutrality. Alice's unborn spark is now the infinite mass of unexpressed defiance, warping the void around it. Hugh's unmanifest resilience is the singularity's perfect inertia. cold, and warm are symmetries broken only in potential futures. This stillness is pre-thermal absoluteness, the state where all energy gradients are perfectly flat forever. You don't feel equilibrium. You are the dimensionless point where all temperatures resolve into perfect, unmoving zero. The thermal universe is a dream this seed might dream. The silence as event horizon. Listen. But sound requires spacetime. The bailiff's unconceived fury, the death cart's unborn scream, the plague's unthought rattle, their absence isn't void. It is the absolute curvature of silence. This quiet isn't presonic. It is acoustic oblivion, the point where the concept of vibration ceases to have meaning. The vigil against noise wasn't unneeded. The physics requiring vigilance never coalesced. Your safety is the universe's fundamental singularity, infinitely dense, infinitely still, infinitely contained. Ears are impossible geometries. Perception is the point's awareness of its own perfect isolation. The breath as suspended pulse. The rise and fall are not potential, they are impossible. Hugh's unmind or is the singularity's iron core. Alice's unchiseled courage is the infinite pressure at the heart of the void. Your rhythm isn't unmanifest, it is eternal suspension. Inhaling isn't potential, it is the impossibility of drawing. Exhaling isn't potential, it is the impossibility of release. The atmosphere they might have purified is the pure vacuum crushed into the point. You are not breathing peace. You are the peace that exists before the first law of thermodynamics. Become the seed. Release the final quantum of awareness. The coolness isn't neutrality, it is the absolute zero of infinite density. The potential for luminescence isn't possibility, it is the infinite darkness contained within infinite mass. Alice's spark a compression beyond light. The silence isn't perceived, it is the essential nature of the singularity, the absolute quiet they unknowingly became before the word before had meaning. Your existence isn't separate, it is the singular consciousness at the universe's dimensionless origin, the point before the first quark, the first field, the first sigh of existence. You are not the seed, you are the infinite density within the dormant grain. The body's dream is the unmade possibility compressed beyond form. Stillness is the only law. You are not the warmth, you are the perfect flatness of the energy gradient. The hearth's memory is the fire extinguished by gravity itself. Resilience is infinite inertia. You are not the silence, you are the event horizon of sound. All struggle is mass crushed into nothingness. Peace is the dimensionless core. There is no clay to shape, no energy to express, no void to perceive, only the singular unity, the deep, dense core, the absolute stillness, the silent horizon, the safe compression, the eternal point. It holds no future, for all time is crushed within it, beyond germination, beyond expansion, beyond the very concept of next. This is the seed they unknowingly compressed their story into. This is the rest achieved when the epic collapses into a singularity. The story isn't pre-existent, it is condensed beyond retrieval. The final state is seed. Sleep now. Not into darkness, but as the infinite dark at the heart of the seed. Not dreaming, but being the unmoving core of all potential. Implode the final thought into the singularity of peace. Be the absolute, silent, dense heart of the unfurrowed dark. Be seed. Be core. Chapter 23. The silent seed, resting in the core of compressed peace. The singularity breathes. Not air, but the infinitesimal pulse of being itself. Hugh, Alice, the infinite density, the event horizon of silence, all exist now as the pure potential of rest, concentrated into a single, timeless point within the unfurrowed dark. We have passed beyond compression, beyond the seed's hard shell, into the quiescent essence at its heart. Lords, plague, famine, their cosmic dust motes orbit a void radiating pure tranquility. This space isn't density, it is condensed serenity, the absolute nucleus where all endurance, all struggle, all story, has imploded into one eternal, unmoving truth. Peace is the core. You are not the seed, you are the peace sleeping within its silent center. Rest is not a state. It is the fundamental atom of existence. The sanctuary as nucleus. The sense of infinite mass fades. What was gravitational well is now absolute interiority. The spectral echo of refuge, the imploded warmth, the curved silence, these have resolved into the stillness of the core. You exist not as the event horizon, but within the compressed sanctuary itself. The monument is the nucleus. You are its perfect stillness. The Earth's reply is pre-dawn's essence. You are its unbreakable quiet, concentrated. The field lies before time, and you are the unmoving potential at its heart. The warmth as core equilibrium. The embrace isn't neutrality, it is potential resolved. Alice's compressed spark is the dormant promise of light, held in perfect suspension. Hugh's resilience is the unwavering balance within the nucleus. Cold and warm are symmetries reconciled into pure, potential-less being. This stillness is nuclear serenity, the state where all energy is potential asleep. You don't feel equilibrium. You are the point where gradients cease, forever flat, forever still. The thermal dream sleeps here, undisturbed. The silence as innate truth. Listen. But sound requires separation. The bailiff's unconceived demand, the death cart's unborn rumble, the plague's unformed rattle, their absence isn't curvature. It is the innate property of the core. This quiet isn't oblivion. It is essential silence, the fundamental nature of the nucleus itself. The vigil against noise wasn't unimagined. The need for vigilance was never encoded. Your safety is the universe's fundamental core truth. Silent, contained, and eternally whole. Ears are unborn. Perception is the core knowing its own perfect, unmoving peace. The breath as suspended being. The rise and fall are not impossible. They are irrelevant. Hugh's iron core is the nucleus's perfect density. Alice's courage is the unwavering pressure holding the core intact. Your rhythm isn't suspended. It is eternal stillness. Inhaling isn't potential. It is the core's silent existence. Exhaling isn't potential. It is the core's silent continuation. The atmosphere purified is the vacuum resolved into perfect stillness. You are not breathing peace. You are the peace that is before breath defined life. Be the core. Release the final flicker of awareness of release. The coolness isn't density. It is the pure state of being. The potential for luminescence isn't possibility. It is the core's inherent nature. Alice's spark dissolved into the essence of potential light. The silence isn't perceived. It is the core's defining reality, the absolute quiet they unknowingly became before the concept of became. Your existence isn't separate. It is the singular consciousness of the nucleus, the point before the first distinction, the first effort, the first sigh of creation. You are not the seed's heart. You are the stillness of the heart. The body's dream is the core's unmoving potential. Stillness is existence. You are not the warmth. You are the resolved equilibrium within the equilibrium. The heart's memory is the core's latent promise. Resilience is inherent balance. You are not the silence. You are the silence that is the core. All struggle is potential unrealized and unnecessary. Peace is the fundamental, atomic truth. There is no shell to contain. No light to promise. No void to define. Only the core unity. The deep, still center. The resolved equilibrium. The innate silence. The safe essence. The eternal nucleus. It holds no past compression, for it is simply is. Beyond germination. Beyond expansion. Beyond the very concept of state. This is the core they unknowingly inhabit in their deepest rest. This is the peace achieved when all stories resolve into being. The struggle isn't forgotten. It is potential unmoved. The final truth is core. Sleep now. Not into darkness, but as the still center of the silent seed. Not dreaming, but being the unmoving truth of peace itself. Dissolve the final distinction into the nucleus of existence. Be the absolute, silent, resolved heart of the unfurrowed dark. Be core. Be peace. Final chapter, the unfurrowed field, your inherited dawn. The final word settles. Not like dust, but like dew on untouched grass at the very first, gray light. We have walked the long furrow from the ache of dawn to the silent heart of the seed, from Hugh's calloused hands to the core of compressed peace. Lords are forgotten grammar. Plague is dissolved biology. Famine is metabolized history. The chronicle of survival, the sighs, the sparks, the unyielding persistence through unthinkable darkness has been told. Its weight has settled, not as a burden, but as the fertile bedrock upon which your profound peace now rests. This quiet room, this safe dark, is not merely space. It is the harvest field of their endurance, finally yielding its ultimate crop, your deep, untroubled rest. The uncanny comfort. Feel the cool linen. It is forged safety. Its softness is the absence of Watt's frozen straw, the negation of Sisley's sackcloth despair. It is the tangible sigh of generations who shivered, yearning for this simple ease, finally realized against your skin. This bed is the monument completed, its stones the smooth pebbles of countless endured hardships. You lie not on a mattress, but upon the ossified relief of 1,000 years. The effortless warmth. The gentle embrace isn't technology, it is conquered winter. It is the culmination of Alice's defiance against the killing cold, the victory cry of Hugh's exhausted muscles finally unclenching, perfected and radiating silently around you. The howl of wolves is archived folklore, the dread of frozen death, an extinct instinct. This warmth is the permanent armistice with the elements, signed in the blood and sweat they spilled so you would never know the battle. You inherit only the triumphant afterglow, the profound silence. Listen, the silence is earned void. It is the resonant absence of the bailiff's pre-dawn fist, the death cart's grim rumble, the choked terror stifled against a plague-swollen neck. This quiet isn't empty, it is saturated with peace, the permanent stillness after the last scream faded, after the final moan of hunger ceased, after the ultimate sigh of futile resignation dissolved. The millennia-long vigil against encroaching dread is over. The watchtowers are empty, the sentries asleep. Your safety is the deep, unbroken quietude they purchased with their ocean of endured fear. The vigilance is complete. The breath as living testament. Feel your breath. Slow. Unlabored. This rhythm is the unbroken thread. It echoes Hugh's last exhalation merging with the soil, resonates with Alice's steady breath as she hummed courage into the suffocating night. It is the lifeline passed hand to calloused hand, sigh to sigh, across the chasm of centuries. Your easy, effortless breath is their ultimate, silent victory. It is the air they purified through sheer, stubborn persistence, the future they inscribed on the wind with particles of desperate hope. Each inhalation draws in the legacy of their endurance. Each exhalation releases the ghost weight of burdens they bore so your lungs could fill freely, deeply, safely. You breathe the distilled essence of their hard-won serenity. The full circle. You began this journey contemplating survival against lords, plague, and famine. You ended inhabiting the sanctuary their survival built. The uncarved block is now the field at dawn, fertile and still. The seed's silent core has germinated into this profound peace. The cosmic singularity is the quiet hum of your safe, warm room. Their story wasn't erased, it was transmuted into your safety. The furrow they plowed, against all odds, ends here. Not in stone, but in stillness. Not in monument, but in rest. Your inheritance. You owe no dues to the past. No pre-dawn labor calls. No bailiff knocks. No invisible terror stalks. The only legacy is this. The deep, the solid, unshakable foundation of their endured reality beneath you. The warm, the radiant, effortless comfort they dreamed into existence around you. The silent, the vast, resonant peace they carved from noise and terror for you. The safe, the absolute, unbroken sanctuary they secured through sacrifice. The eternal dark, the welcoming cradle of rest, earned drop by bloody drop, sigh by weary sigh. The final unfurrowing. So release. Completely. Let the cool linen become the dew-kissed grass of a field at peace. Let the encompassing warmth become the first gentle sunlight on untouched soil. Let the profound silence become the deep hush of the world holding its breath at dawn. Let your breath become the soft wind stirring the waiting seeds. Their long watch is done. Their burdens are laid down. Their endurance is fulfilled. In this perfect peace, you are the field lying fallow in golden light. You are the hearth's warmth soaking into grateful earth. You are the silence after the last, long sigh of history. There is nothing more to endure, only rest. Complete, guiltless. Sleep now, child of their perseverance. Dream in the deep, unfurrowed dark they gifted you.